So, the golden children of the UK have basically been invited out to get hands-on first with Sony's brand new products and LG's products, and we've got a little bit more information as to what these products are and are not capable of. So, I'm going to be giving you guys my thoughts as requested, and we're going to be letting you guys know what we think. So, let's get started. So, in a nutshell, I'm not really all that impressed. I'm kind of disappointed. So if you came here for the short answer, smack a like on this video for just getting to the point. Now let's talk about why I'm disappointed. We'll start with Sony. Sony has basically gone and unveiled most of their whole entire line. We've already saw that, but more details are coming out as we were saying in the opening of this video. And one of the details that really bugged me, the first thing is that the A90K basically is the A90J, more or less. They're talking about there's not really much of an improvement as far as brightness, very similar levels of brightness from what we saw last year. Another problem is that they're talking about, when asked about, hey, what differences besides color do you have, they go right back into the color thing. It's like, well, we've got better color this year. It's like, well, no shit, Sherlock, you put quantum dots in there, but what else did you do to warrant, no doubt, what's going to be an expensive price tag? And they didn't really seem to have much outside of quantum dot being their big move. That is a huge red flag because it probably indicates that it's just an A90J basically with quantum dots. For that, I mean, I don't know. I would have to see it. I hope they did something with motion, but seeing how I'm the only one that wants to admit that there is a definite motion problem on the Sony A90J, I don't think it's going to get any kind of adjustment at all. Now, the A90J is basically like the A9S from a couple years ago, where basically it's just this small 48 to 42 inch screen that doesn't really do much for most people looking to buy a higher tier Sony. It's just not going to be there. Instead, you're going to have to drop down into the A80 series, which they made ultra confusing for no reason this year by adding an A75 series. So now the same thing they do with their LED line, how like the 75 and, you know, the 80 is like the crappier budget alternatives. They're doing that now in the OLED market. I don't really know why they would do that. It kind of seems like OLED is where they should keep the premium stuff, but they're going that route because I'm sure they want to compete with things like the A1 from LG. And another problem that I have though with Sony is that this year, like, they kind of are alluding to the fact that across the board there's minimal updates and minimal upgrades. Not really a whole big game-changing thing. And they're talking about their full array technology being fantastic and all that, and mini LED is supposed to be better, but it's like everything I saw from Sony is just kind of like they're not really changing the old wheel, at least as far as what they've admitted so far and what I've seen. I haven't seen anything that's like, wow, this is taking center stage. Now let's look at LG. Same boat, okay? We had HDTV Test do a complete and total breakdown, right, of the settings, and I have a pretty sharp eye, so I know what to look for. Essentially, there's almost nothing new about the thing, and that's really where I kind of take a little protest here, because again, in a similar fashion, you know, they were trying to say things like the C1 basically washes out at higher levels of brightness, but I mean, at the same token, I'm pretty sure the C2 is not going to blow the doors off of the C1. I'm not seeing that, right? Especially the way like the reference accurate modes are meant to be used. I don't see that blowing the doors off. And the user interface is almost identical. So you have basically all the same features. The only true notable difference that I saw is that this year, finally, LG adds a real color space. So you have auto, you have native, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean, and it's automatic processing of what it thinks native is, right? But then now this year you have Adobe RGB. And with proper adjustment, that's going to be the mode that makes LG probably look better than it ever has looked in terms of color space built into the TV. But if you know what the HDMI signaling override is on your C10 and on your C1, you can just access BT 2020 from the get and get something that isn't available from the get and the C2. So it would be very seriously interesting to see how a C1 rocking BT 2020 competes with something like the Adobe RGB rocking the Adobe color space, Adobe RGB to be specific. But essentially, like, it looks the same, right? And my thing here is like everything I'm seeing so far early on 2022 is like it's basically what we got last year with literally what feels like it could have been a patch. And now, again, I'm going to get these TVs in. I'm going to get time with them. I'm going to see what they do, and I'm going to break them all down. But I'm kind of let down by that. I'm not going to lie. Like, the fact that the A95K doesn't have a reversible stand where you could put a soundbar underneath it is so stupid, because we're in the age now where everybody wants sleeker, slimmer. Not everybody has the ability to, buy these massive TVs, and they not even want to buy these massive sound systems and stuff like that, right? And it just seems like when you go with Sony, you kind of are forced into certain choices that are uncomfortable. And on the most flagship, it makes no sense that they don't have a stand that can put a soundbar underneath it. To put it in context, my Sony A8G from like a couple of years ago has a stand that can accommodate a soundbar, which is so very important for people who, again, don't have the most massive cathedral spaces. So that is going to kill a good amount of their consumer bases right there. That, again, they don't want wires. They don't want to, again, deal with all the hassle of a big ass surround system. I personally don't like those big ass tacky speakers in my home with a giant ass subwoofer. Not my thing, especially because I live with other people. I'm not here trying to make it miserable for everybody in my house because I want to watch a movie. Again, some people have different opinions on that. Maybe they can get away with it in some context, but my point is they should have options to accommodate other people when we're talking about a product that's marketed to the masses, and they're not really doing that. So QD OLED, I don't know who it's for at this point. I really don't. I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see and test it out. But then you look at some of the decisions that they've made with their television, and the fact that Sony still in 2022 isn't talking about, what Triluminous Pro does, what they're talking about Max, Triluminous Max. It was a perfect example to elaborate on what their new technologies were. And it just kind of seems like it's just them adding marketing jargon to the end of what already existed and not really changing much. And I'll verify that. I'll test it out, of course. I'm not just making statements. But as far as my initial impressions on what 2022 is bringing so far from those two brands, not impressed. But I want to see what you guys have to say. Did something happen that I missed that just blew your tops off your lids? And if that's the case, let me know down below. But that being said, so far an underwhelming start to 2022.